Very good evening, students. Till now, that means in last many lectures, okay, I have told you that the characters are determined by the genes. These genes are either sitting on the autosomes, okay, or on the chromosomes, okay. So we have learned about the autosomal inheritance, okay, or the sex-linked inheritance, okay. And all these genes were either dominant or they were recessive, okay. We have learned about this kind of or this pattern of inheritance by these genes was classified as the monogenic inheritance. That means the inheritance because of the single gene. In case of dominant, single gene, and in case of recessive, in double dose, present on both the members of a homologous pair of chromosome. So this was the state of affair till now. But now I'm going to teach you another kind of inheritance which is fairly very common. Okay, and this is not governed by a single gene inheritance or monogenic inheritance, which is also called as Mendelian inheritance. So it is not like that. Okay, till now we have learned about the inheritance which was, I mean to say, regulated or followed by the Mendelian's laws of inheritance. Because when Mendel did his experiment on pea plants, he considered all these factors which we later came to know as genes, okay, which were determined by the single genes, okay, single gene. But now we come to the polygenic, and then I will also tell you multifactorial inheritance. So I am passing to the next slide where we will learn what is polygenic inheritance. Now, the following common traits have complex genetic basis of inheritance. It is not as simple as recessive or dominant. Okay. Say for example, the characters, okay, or the features like height, our height, okay. In case of Mendelian inheritance, he just selected those plants where the height was either short or height was either tall, okay. And in that case, in the plants, okay, pea plants, this height was determined by a single gene, okay. But here in human beings, okay, the height is not determined by a single gene, or it is not monogenic in inheritance, okay. Similarly, the blood pressure, okay, intelligence, okay, some are more intelligent, some are less, and some are in between. Then the weight, some are very heavy, some are very having the less weight, and some are in between. Hair colors, okay, there are different hair colors. Eye colors are also different, and our face are different, okay. Our facial feature are also different, okay. And because of that, we are identified as the different races, okay. Now, so these are the features, okay. They are also inherited, okay, but they are not inherited by a single gene, okay. Now, these above traits do not follow the pattern of single gene, as I told you, Mendelian inheritance. In human, the height is not determined by a pair of gene as it was determined in the pea plants, okay. Otherwise, we all people in our family or in our society or in our country would be of two different height, either short or the tall. Okay, but we are not either short or tall. We are not having two categories of our height. Okay, our height shows the variations that some members of our family or of in your class, they may be very tall, some may be very short, and many will be in between. Okay, so various heights are seen, variations in height is seen, and height is a character, okay, which is determined by the genes, okay, by the gene. Now these traits are measured quantitatively. That means you can measure the height of a person, okay, So it is 5 feet 2 inches, 5 feet 10 inches, 6 feet 2 inches, or 6 feet 4 inches. Like that, you can measure the height of a person, okay? Because otherwise, if there would have been only two categories, tall and short, then we would have said he is tall and other is short, okay? There was no need to measure it, okay? But here, since it is lot of variation is present, we have to measure this height. And therefore, this kind of the traits or characters are called as continuous trait. That means if you will draw a graph of the heights of all your classmates, then you will get a continuous graph. Okay. So there will be, it is called as a continuous trade. There is no interruption between the tall and short. Okay, it is from the shortest to tallest. The graph will keep on going up and up. Okay, and therefore these kind of traits where you can measure it, okay, they are called as quantitative traits. For example, your blood pressure you can measure, your height you can measure, okay. So this kind of the traits, they are the continuous traits or quantitative traits because you can measure them. Now I am passing to the next slide. Now, though some disorders are not determined by single gene pair, okay, but cannot be measured as quantitative traits, similar to height or the blood pressure, okay. Hmm. So they cannot be measured as quantitative traits, similar. In one example, I told you height you can measure, blood pressure you can measure, but there are some traits or character which you cannot measure, okay, you cannot measure, okay, they are still polygenic. I will explain what is polygenic, okay. They are either present or absent, okay, similar to tall and short, but I will explain you, they are not determined by the single gene, okay. For example, a person if has a cleft palate, yes, he has a cleft palate, okay, or he don't have the cleft palate, yes or no. If a person is suffering from diabetes, he is suffering from diabetes, and the other person is not suffering. There is no intermediate variation, that a person is suffering from little diabetes, other is suffering from the very severe diabetes, okay, like that, okay. I hope you are understanding. Now this kind of disorders can be classified into two. Either they are right from the birth, okay, they are congenital, that means right from the their birth these disorders are present, okay. Say for example pyloric stenosis, okay, where the pyloric sphincter, okay, that circular muscle gets very much hypertrophied and leads to the stenosis. Nothing can pass through the pyloric canal, okay, that is called as pyloric stenosis. Okay, when child is born, he is born with this stenosis. It doesn't develop later, okay, after birth. It is right from the birth, okay. And that's why the newborn child is start vomiting because nothing goes inside the duodenum. Then there is a cleft lip. A child is born with a cleft lip or cleft palate or heart defect, interventricular septal defect, any other defect of the heart, okay, is right from the neural tube defect, okay, spina bifida for example, anencephaly. They are present right from the birth, and these type of the inheritance, okay, they are also determined by the not by the Mendelian inheritance or not by a single gene, multiple gene, many genes are responsible for the production of this kind of the disorders. Then the second category of the disorder is which are not present at birth but they appear in adults, okay. We must have seen many diseases which appear, they are called as adult onset disease. For example, epilepsy, hypertension means blood pressure. Mostly after the middle age, the blood pressure comes, say, after 40 years of age. Diabetes, similarly, it comes after type 2 diabetes, okay. it comes after around 40 years. And the heart disease, some heart disease can develop after birth. I mean, see, in adult life, schizophrenia. Okay, that these are the conditions which are adult. But all these conditions, whether they are from birth, okay, right from birth, that which means the cause is somewhere in the embryonic life or in intrauterine life or in adulthood. These are the disease which to appear, okay, they need a threshold, okay, at particular level. When reaches, then they appear, okay. And that's why this kind of the disease, they are called as threshold traits or characters, threshold traits, okay. I hope you have followed, and I'm going to the next slide now. So we come to what is polygenic inheritance, which is determined by many genes. Poly means many genes, where many genes are responsible for a trait, not by a single or monogenic or Mendelian inheritance, recessive or dominant. Okay. Okay. These genes do not behave as dominant or recessive gene, which are polygenic disease. Okay, many genes are there and they don't behave as dominant or recessive, where it was expressed or it was expressed in double dose or in single dose. Okay, now these genes are located at different chromosomes. Okay. In case of monogenic inheritance, the genes was located on the homologous pair of chromosome. Okay. Either on one member of the pair or on both the members of pairs. Okay. These genes, otherwise, normally they are on both the members. When they become abnormal mutant, then we were saying that dominant when it is only on the one member of the pair, and recessive when the same gene become mutant in both the mm, members of the pair or on homologous pair of chromosomes. So they are not at one particular chromosome or on a homologous chromosome. That means on either of the two chromosome of the pair. But they are distributed. Okay, there may be a disease which or abnormality or a normal character even can be determined by the genes which are 10, 12, 15 and sitting on different 10, 12, 15 chromosomes. Okay, so their location is on the different chromosomes. That is another important point. Then each gene exerts equal additive effect. It is not so that the gene sitting on chromosome number 5 is more effective for that particular polygenic inheritance and chromosome, and gene sitting on chromosome number 21 is less effective. Like it's not. All the genes which are responsible for determination of that particular polygenic inheritance, they all are equally uh, potential. Their potency is same, okay, and they exert equal and additive effect. That means if it is determined by 5 genes, then the 5 genes will have their additive effect. If the same character is determined by the 10 genes, then the 10 genes will have the additive effect. This is true for the polygenic inheritance. Thus, this type of inheritance is called as polygenic inheritance, determined by many genes. Okay, polygenic in nature. Okay, so these are the different class of the characters or traits which are entirely different than that of the single gene inheritance, recessive or dominant inheritance. Okay, now passing to the last slide. What is multifactorial inheritance? Okay, multifactorial. This is not simple polygenic. Multi means many factors are responsible for this inheritance. It is believed that the common physical traits or disorder, physical means normal traits, okay, or disorder or congenital malformation are not totally determined by the action of genes alone. So genes alone are not only responsible for the expression of these normal or the abnormal characters in human, okay, but it is said that this is an effect of the gene plus environmental factor. That means gene alone in polygenic inheritance are not determining a character, okay, but this expression of this character by polygenes is also influenced by environmental factors which are non-genetic in nature. They are non-genetic in nature. So when there is an interaction in expression between the genes and environmental factor, this condition becomes a multifactorial because many factors, the factor of genes, that is genetic factors, and the environmental factor, both are responsible for its expression. Hence it is called as multifactorial inheritance. For example, in case of the skin color, we have seen that people are of different skin color. Black and white is the best example, okay, and you must have learned that not only black and white, there are some other color, Mongol, okay, we are brown Indians, okay, so they are different colors are there, okay, and say for example, let us take the white and black only, which are two contrasting skin colors, okay. Now, this skin color of whiteness and blackness is not totally dependent on the genes of the white race or the black race. Of course, major factor is the genes. If you have the genes of whiteness, okay, then you will be white. White means Europeans and Americans who looks white, okay, not colored. And if you are black, it means you have the genes for blackness. But at the same time, the intensity of the blackness or your whiteness also depend on some other factor, which are the environmental factor, like that of the sunlight. Those people who are living close to the poles, that is North Pole and South Pole, are just little away from the poles, they are white. And peoples who are living close to the equator, that means African peoples, because the equator is passing through the Africa where sunlight is falling straight, okay, while at poles the sunlight is oblique, so the effect of sunlight is more near the equator, so the people living on either side of the equators, they are black, okay, and people living on the near the poles, they are white. So this is an effect of environment on the skin color, okay, effect of environment on this. So that's why the color of the skin is a multifactorial inheritance, okay. Similarly, weight. Okay, some people are obese, some people are thin, hmm? And this is because of our diet, what we eat beside our genes. Okay, some people, even if they are eating too much, they are not getting weight because their genes say are said to be that. But otherwise, diet plays an important role in the weight. Okay, in spite of our genes determining our weight. Okay, if you are getting good diet, similarly for height, it is said Japanese now are much taller than what they were uh, 15 or 70 years back, okay, because their environmental conditions, climatic conditions, I mean to say diet, okay, they are getting better diet, okay, so diet has an effect on the height, okay. Then chemicals, radiation, they all influence the action of the genes, okay. That's why the polygenic inheritance, okay, because these characters are the characters which uh, are determined by the many genes, okay. What we are talking about, those character, polygenic characters or disabilities or disorders, they are have the root in their multiple genes, but they are also influenced by the environment. So polygenic inheritance is also called as multifactorial inheritance. So these two terms, polygenic inheritance and multifactorial, they are synonymous, okay, they can be used, okay, in place of one other, okay. I hope this small lecture has explain you about the polygenic inheritance or the multifactorial inheritance. Thank you for watching this video.